And because I think not working on projects that mean the world to you and they're personal, it's over time, it just is sort of a betrayal of yourself when you don't figure out a way to make those happen. You are betraying yourself by saying yes to things that you don't have your heart in. Every yes is like time taken away from what you should be doing.
Welcome, everybody, to another edition of F5 Collective Presents Women in Business. Today, we are so lucky to have my absolute wonderful human, such a favorite person of mine, Sarah Walsh, brilliant artist, so talented, and that I have had the incredible honor of being able to work with closely and create things with. I just had chills kind of go up my back, Sarah, because it was just like, it's so true, because it was just glorious. But everybody, I want to introduce you to Sarah Walsh. And Sarah, thanks for hanging out with us today.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for the gushing. It's my honor. I think you're so brilliantly talented, and I'm so excited that you have a podcast and that we can hang out. So yeah, thank you for having me.
Well, Sarah, so tell us a little bit about your background, where you came from, and all that kind of fun stuff.
Okay. Well, I have been I guess, professional working artist for about kind of since 2001, and it's weird to say that out loud actually, because it's always changing and I'm always evolving and it feels new a lot of the time. But yeah, I grew up in upstate New York, and I was just always loved art. My mom was an artist, and that's what I thought I was going to be. I wasn't, I don't think I really, as a kid, it didn't dawn on me like how I was going to get there. I think that's the part that I love about kids is you're kind of a little delulu and you don't really care. So I was kind of just like, I don't need to take a typing class in high school because I'm going to be an artist, and artists don't need to know how to type. This was like in the 80s, early 90s. But yeah, I had some bumps in my life, my personal life, lots of childhood trauma. So art and me, I mean, I think art saved my life, but I ended up going to a school that was really supportive, that in Albany, New York, where I grew up, and I went for graphic design. They didn't have an illustration major, but it worked out really well because I think I fell in love with typography, and I think design informs a lot of my illustration work. And then I got a job right out of college at Hallmark Cards in Kansas City. Had no idea where Kansas City was. I was invited to go on the interview. I went, and then I was just kind of blown away by the building and the people that worked there. And my gut was like, I think you need to take this job. So my daughter and I moved across the country. And then I basically sort of learned more of my illustration like on the job. And it was kind of like getting paid to get a master's or a second degree because, I learned from so many of the talented people around me, like yourself. So yeah, and then after, I don't know, that kind of got old after a while, and I'd been there like 13 years, and I had always kind of had a little side thing going, and I submitted my work to an agent named Lilla Rogers, and they accepted me, and it kind of gave me the courage to quit this really cushy job. And I had support from my husband, and probably couldn't have really pulled it off without that. So shout out to Colin. But yeah, so I've been doing that since 2013. And here I am with you. I don't know. It's hard to sum up stuff like that.
No,
I'm
I
like,
think it's no, it's
I don't even
perfect.
know
Well,
what day it is. You know.
well, let's pretend it's whatever day we want it to be. How about that? So,
Okay.
well, you talk about the fact the illustration, and you know, one of the things about the work that you do is how your your images tell incredible stories. And so I'm just curious, how did that, from being interested in graphic design, well, not being interested, but having that as the start and then moving into
Mhm.
illustration, how did you start to really recognize how important it was for your images to tell the story? How important it was to incorporate storytelling in that?
I think I always had a love for storytelling. I loved picture books when I was a kid and always wanted to write and illustrate books. I think in high school, you start to drift away from the things you love, and if you're lucky, they come back to you, which I was. But then my professors in college, they had went to a college called Tyler, and there the program for design is like it's very sort of visual problem solving versus siloing the arts. So they always encouraged us to whatever solves the visual problem, if it's an illustration, if it's typography, if it's photography with typography, just they taught us more how to be visual problem solvers versus like, well, I'm an illustrator or I'm a graphic designer. And
Mm-hmm.
so I had so much illustration in my portfolio, and I think the power of storytelling, I think did hit home for me in graphic design school because I mean, there is a sort of a dark side, but storytelling can sell things. And so you kind of do realize the power, the psychology behind that. And I thought that was fascinating.
Mm-hmm.
But I also thought at the end of the day, it is sort of about stories and emotion and relating to each other and connecting with each other. And, that can be used in an honest way or a manipulative way. But either, I think the honest way really appealed to me more and just being a part of something positive. So I definitely kind of steered away from, not that advertising is trickery and nothing but that and everything like that, because I love products. I like buying things, and I think there's a whole we that's what we do. We like collect things and we buy stuff and consume. But I think all in moderation. But I think I just really appreciated the personal aspect of storytelling and visual narrative, and it kind of led me. I think I just keep pulling on that thread, to be honest with
Mm-hmm.
you. And I still, haven't gotten quite to the gooey center of it all. But I don't really, I feel like if I finally do, then it's over. So
Right, right.
I want to keep exploring that and what it means. Like, I want my work to become more and more personal, like as I go on, and it has. So
What
yeah.
so what when did you start doing the books? When did you start being able to illustrate the books and do that?
Well, I did a book with you at Hallmark,
Mm-hmm.
which was such a dream come true, to be able to have characters and be part of that. And then I got, I think my work has always leaned toward that, but then not delved enough into it. So when I started freelancing,
Mm-hmm.
I got a couple book gigs, and then it just kind of evolved from there. As we do work, we put work out there. Um, People see it, and
Mm-hmm.
it's like it sort of begets more and more. That's why I think as a freelance, as your own boss, I think in a way we really have to be mindful of like what we're putting out there and what we're working on and making sure we love it. I have this like dad metaphor of like, just make sure you love the bricks that you're building your house with, because if you're like, these bricks are okay, I guess, and you make this like amazing house with it, people are going to see that and be like, can you make me that house? And you're like,
Hmm.
sure. It's hard to turn down money, it's hard to turn down opportunities. So I think that has kind of, after doing this for 13 years ish, I have had to kind of rewrite the ship several times, because sometimes you think a project is one thing and it evolves into something else. And I've learned, but like I've also learned, like, I don't ever want to do that kind of project again.
Right.
And then, oh God, I hope I don't get more projects like that.
Hmm.
Or, oh, I love that and I want to do more of that. So, um, yeah. But the book thing, I think I've always wanted to figure out. I've illustrated for a lot of different publishers and book concepts, and partnered with a lot of writers, but I think I've been sort of trying to working on cracking the nut of my author illustrator voice. And so
Hmm.
I've been working a lot the past several years, doing a lot of zines and just kind of more narrative work like comics. And I mean, it's hard to fit it in with client work, but I daydream of doing it all the time. And so right now I'm just sort of in the process of working on a book pitch for a graphic novel that I did based on a zine that I created a couple of years ago. So I think, doing small little baby projects that don't have a lot of pressure can have they've been really helpful for me. And I cannot say enough about zines. Some people don't even know what they are, but they've helped me so much, and I've collected them for years, but I wasn't sure if I had anything to say for a while,
Hmm.
which now thinking about that is kind of wild, but you don't know until you know. And your
Yeah.
brain is sort of filled with other things sometimes, and you don't have space for that. And or you're not ready. I had to grow a little bit, and so that's been really fun to work on. Just there's no rules. You can make a zine. Your grandpa can make a zine. It doesn't matter. Anybody, it's kind of like journaling, but with little pages. Like everyone and anyone should feel like they have the right to write their thoughts down on paper or do a little doodle or be creative in some way. I mean, so I cannot say enough about them.
Yeah. Yeah, I was going to ask you what it is about them because, since the earliest time of us knowing each other, we would talk about the possibilities of a zine or how can we take
Yes.
this, IP and have it be living in this kind of way, which for what we were working on made tons of sense. Um, and, I wonder because you do have such a great also comic sense. Um, what is it about? I mean, I know it's about the journaling, but what is it about from the visual standpoint that you like so much about it?
I guess just the freedom, I think once you get over the mental hurdle, I think, which I myself had to get through, and I've watched some friends who have never made a zine, it's like there's this process that I see and a transformation where they realize they have permission and they can do whatever they want. Like we have free will and we forget this, which is crazy. But yeah, they're like, you mean I could do like a recipe, or I mean, there's literally no rules. And I think visually messy, not doesn't have to be perfect, better done than none. It's kind of, and it can evolve.
Hmm.
So I think just creative freedom, permission to try things out. Yeah,
Yeah.
uh, I could go on and on, but that's probably the most appeal. And I think the accessibility, the lack of gatekeeping, I think
Hmm.
it feels so, it makes me feel lighter just thinking about things like zines, because I know that. if you have a piece of paper and a pen and maybe like a little bit of coin for like some Xerox copies, like if you have an idea that you want people to know about, or you have things that you need to get out of your system, feelings you want to explore, or art you want to draw, or it just doesn't even matter what it is. I think almost everyone has access to that. And
Hmm.
that makes me happy because I feel like that is how the world should work.
Yeah.
The lack of gatekeeping in the whole zine world is what I really love.
Well, and then there's also that ability to share your art on your own terms,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yes.
Yeah, being able to do that. Now, you, because you work across, um, the books and you work with magazines and all of that, how do you balance all these different kind of platforms that you have to work across? I swear to God, when I was thinking about questions, and I was like, this is going to be so much fun.
It's all a facade. I I don't balance. I don't. I try. I
Hmm.
try.
Hmm.
But I just it's it doesn't sometimes it's easy, but lately, to be honest, it feels really intense.
Mm.
Um, I'm not gonna sit here and go, oh yeah, I wake up at like 5 in the morning and I have my steel cut oats and do my yoga. I don't know why I'm also like a bohemian Canadian health expert now. But like I I am pretty messed up right now, to be honest, because I've just been taking on too much,
Mm.
and that's probably not what people are wanting to hear. But um, I've just been trying to get through a ton of things that were left over from the
Mm.
past year. Like, I think a lot of people are like 2026, new leaf, new projects. For me, it was I have these huge beasts of projects and things I'm involved in that are continuing
Wow.
through the summer. And so it's like an endurance. I feel like a little bit of like a rusted old jalopy rolling into the finish line.
Mm.
But I do see the light at the end of the tunnel, and I need to kind of remember to take steps back and like sort of praise the shit out of myself and
Mm-hmm.
be like, good job. You're doing it. Not to be, this is not the time to be judgmental of myself, and just really try to celebrate the small wins along the way, because otherwise I do think you can kind of make yourself miserable when you have a
Mm-hmm.
lot of work on your plate and you're sort of in a constant battle with burnout, which I feel like.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah. No,
sorry.
no, babe, I feel you. No,
I'm,
I mean, but I think it's important for people to know because I was going to say to
yeah,
you, then in the midst of it, because I know that, there are times I'm struggling when I'm just
yeah,
like, I don't have a chance to write a word that's just me because I'm
yeah,
working
yeah,
on all this other stuff. And so,
yeah.
how do you keep yourself fresh? Is it through the zines and everything? But,
Well, I think perspective really helps because you just made me think about something, and I have to I have to remind myself, like, part of any kind of free time I have is working on a personal project, but it's not like a check your brain at the door, like painting therapy kind of personal project. It's like writing and illustrating. You're using all your brain cells. Like it's hard work, personal work, but it's a privilege for me
mm,
to be able to work on it. And I have to like tell myself that daily, because I know a lot of for one, I'm doing what I love. I'm getting paid to do it. And two, I have been able to do something that I didn't think I could do. And I don't know where it's going to go, but I have to see it through. And just finishing it will feel, I know I'll feel, at least I finished something that was
Mm-hmm.
really important to me. And because I think not working on projects that mean the world to you and they're personal, it's over time, it just is sort of a betrayal of yourself when you
Mm-hmm.
don't figure out a way to make those happen. You are betraying yourself by saying yes to things that you don't have your heart in. Every yes is like time taken away from what you should be doing. And I have to constantly remind myself. Sorry, my dog just like, I don't know if you can hear that. I
I
hope you
can't.
can't.
It's okay.
Gosh, Jesus Christ.
Is it the paper towel coming back to say hello to her?
Oh my God. Yeah, maybe. I don't know. Or the five other things she ate out of the garbage. Yeah, I don't it's just yeah, it's like perspective. I think when you're burned out or you're sleep deprived, it's really easy to lose perspective. So
Mm,
I know if I start feeling that way, I'm like, you better get some sleep. You better, even if you think you can't take a break, you better take a break because if you don't take a break, you're gonna break.
yeah, yeah.
Or you're gonna break something. So, so chill out. But yeah, like doing, even if it's like 5 minutes, drawing something silly or
Mm,
for yourself, just even if it's a tiny little thing,
yeah,
it can really make a difference.
yeah. Because it can spark other things. I know that
Hmm.
it's funny that you were saying about taking a break because it's so true. It's that thing of okay, I am not going to be good for anybody if I'm stuck in this brain where it is right now. And the
Yes.
stuff that's about to come out of my pen or pencil or whatever is going to just be crap. So let me stop
Yeah.
a second and just do me for a minute.
Yes.
You
Oh my
know, just
God.
oh my gosh.
It's super important.
Mhm. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Well, when you started when you left, corporate, because I know when you're in a corporate environment dealing with clients, that's all internal, it was ever. But
mhm.
then when you go out and start doing the freelance, dealing with clients is different. So what was that like
Mhm.
transitioning to that?
I think that's something that is very scary for a lot of
Mm,
people. And it was definitely intimidating for me when I first started out, but I don't think as scary as it would have been if I hadn't had like 13 years of experience, like
right.
working for art directors and editorial directors. Like, I think everything that you're doing now is going to prepare you for that next step. And so I think that in like I think we're just so much smarter than we give ourselves credit for. I think we're so trained to not listen to our intuition. And I think we have so many more answers than we think we do. And I think, I'm just thankful that I trusted myself enough to take that leap and just, I didn't have, we don't have the answers. I think
Mm,
we are living in this age of information where we just collect information and we research the death out of something. And there's like this tipping point, and it's like a banana. I bring a banana to my studio and it instantly just like goes ripe really fast. And I feel like you're like a brown banana that, like, if you just keep researching, it's like that thing's gonna have to go in the freezer
yeah.
and it's gonna be banana bread like 3 months from now. Then you can't it's not gonna, you gotta just take the leap and eat the banana before you think you're ready because you'll have to be okay with like learning things like on the job. And I think there was a lot of unknown. I think being okay with uncertainty and being okay with being scared, I think that was something I feel very lucky that I don't know why I see a lot of people struggling with that. They're just like waiting for permission to
Mm,
do things. And I don't know. I'm grateful that I think it's a little crazy. I think you have to kind of be a little crazy, maybe. Maybe I'm just like a little crazy, like a little delusional, just the right amount of like what makes people do dumb stuff that ends up being cool. I don't know.
Mm.
I don't know. Super professional business advice here. I
Oh my gosh. But I think you're right. I mean, come on. It is these are shots that you're taking. I mean, you're taking these
They
risks. You just got to
are.
go for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
And
more risky to be safe, I think. And I
mm,
think a little to a lot of you can die inside when you're
mhm.
just kind of waiting for that moment. And the longer you wait, the less energy you have to to bring to that new situation. And I also think the less you become of yourself. And that's when I think people start making mistakes at work. They start lacking accountability because they don't
Mm,
care, apathy sets in, and then you might make a mistake or do something dumb, and you're sort of like, well, I hate it here, so whatever. And I
mm,
don't think that's a good place for anybody to be. So I think it's really important to be proactive when you're not happy somewhere and figure out, like, almost before it's too late, like,
yeah.
kind of have to work on it in tandem. I mean, I'm not saying once you're like at that situation, you're just like a goner, but I just think it can
Yeah.
get like messy. It can get like messy and doesn't need to get that way. So I think just kind of being curious has really helped me always lead to the next thing. Just being really curious about a lot of different things and just trying to figure out, like, whatever situation I'm in, like what is that little piece of it that's just for me that keeps
Mm,
my little spark alive and like leads to the next spark that
yeah.
just kind of carries you, you know?
Yeah. Well, I mean, you talk about curiosity, and I'm wondering what's something maybe now that you've kind of taken on that's new that you're really excited about?
Well, this figuring out writing and illustrating,
Mm,
it's I it doing zines, I got really burned out just freelancing and doing books and doing client work with, like, I do a lot of gift product like
mm,
puzzles and um, bags and tea towels, and then I run my own shop, and then I have a Patreon, so I'm like juggling a lot of plates, and I started feeling really lost in the sauce, and
mm,
I wasn't getting any closer to figuring out my author-illustrator voice because bills have to be paid and I gotta take on client work, and I felt lucky to be busy, but at the same time it sort of started to feel like a trap,
yeah.
and I was getting just burned out more and more, and the recovery time would take longer and I'd get burned out quicker. And I just I took a class. Uh, my former agent, Lilla, teaches online classes, and this one was like how to do like a coffee table book style, like nonfiction. And it started, I didn't know what I was going to do yet. And the class was kind of like how to develop your idea and then develop like a pitch for it. And I was texting a friend and I was like, I haven't really landed on something that I'm like in love with. And I found this like horse meme and I sent it to her, and it was something like wah wah or like something silly. And I was sitting on the floor. My husband was like playing Mario Brothers or whatever. I was like sulking and just like frustrated. And then it just kind of hit me. I was like, why am I not doing a book idea about horses? Like, I've loved them since I was a kid. I could do a love letter to horses, and there could be little anecdotes from my childhood, like my 80s horse obsessed childhood, unicorn, just like
Mm-hmm.
facts about horses, like, and then little stories in between, just like a love letter. And it was so crazy how, after years and years of like struggling to figure out like a comfortable way to put words and images together, um, it was like just, like,
Wow.
how stuff just falls out of you. It's like it shouldn't be that hard, and it's because it was hard because I was trying to fit my voice into this specific box that I thought it was supposed to be in. And so, yeah, that turned, I decided actually once I got this pitch worked on and the class was over, I decided that I wasn't sure if I was going about it quite the right way. And
Mm-hmm.
I was like, I don't really know if I want to pitch this as a book yet. I just want to make it. I don't want any gatekeeping. I don't want to be trying to get someone's attention to make this thing. I was like,
Mm-hmm.
I just want to make this. So I did like a 24-page zine that I had risograph printed to get like that 80s bright neon pink. And I had a time deadline, where I knew I was going to go to this illustration conference, maybe look for a literary agent with this zine. Just there was like a few things that helped me, just from like a professional standpoint, when you have like a personal project that's really big,
Mm.
I found it impossible to execute without some kind of external pressure. I
Yeah.
can do client work, but like big person, I mean, you have your vampire cookbook. Like
Yeah.
it's like you had to like figure out how to make that huge baby live.
Mm-hmm.
It feels impossible, I think,
Yeah.
for a lot of people, and it did for me. But I knew enough about myself. I was like, well, if I just pretend I'm my own client and I'm really onto something here, I know this is something I feel so excited about. I have to figure out how to make this happen. So I had these like hinge points of like deadlines. I knew if I had to do art for a printer, like I couldn't, if I was printing it myself, I would work on it forever. So I was
Mm-hmm.
like, let me book a date with this Risograph printer in town. Um, because they're expecting this. And then if I don't have it ready for them, I'm not going to have it ready for this conference. So I had all these like external pressure points built for myself. And then I was able to do it. And I ended up getting a literary agent with it. And so that's kind of, I'm still sort of in the throes of this. Now I'm just making this giant zine
Mm-hmm.
slash, graphic novel, but I don't know. I'm gonna be looking for a publisher, but at the same time, like I want once that's done, I'm just excited to kind of go back in and explore this new way of visual verbal language that I've
Yeah.
been developing without the pressure of this big personal project, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
So
it does.
I don't know, but just exploring narrative in, like, I always loved comics. I loved Garfield. But when I went to design school, they kind of like, ugh, I have so many mixed feelings about design school. Like,
Mm.
it like made me think that that wasn't cool anymore.
Mm.
I like abandoned that and was like, ugh, black line work,
Mm.
cartoons, like, ugh. And but it's fine because it pushed me to like mid-century and Mary Blair. And so now I have something I can develop that's all my own because it is literally such a hodgepodge of like influences that I don't have to worry about like that I'm copying anybody because there's
Yeah.
just no fucking way
Yeah.
that, and I love folk art, so it's like a
Yeah.
big mix um of of my little world. So
Yeah. Well, you have a very distinctive style that's really exciting. I mean, you look
thank
forward to it,
you.
and it touches that kid in you, you know,
Yes.
and it and in the way that it gives you permission, because sometimes there's stuff that touches the kid in you that is childish, but I've
Yes.
always felt like your style is that thing that touches the kid in you that allows you as an adult to give into that kid in you. It's
I
permission.
That makes me so happy to hear you say that because I think that was the I think the heartbeat of this whole zine horse girl project is that I realized that me as a person and me as an artist, I think one of the most important things that like pulls me through is like just staying in touch with the kid in me, and that I just wish more people, I think if we just like at the heart of Horse Girl, the zine, and hopefully the graphic novel is like the message of just, what you loved as a kid is it's like the best part of you. And I hate that like as you grow up, our society teaches us that we need to like put that in a drawer and forget about it. It really breaks my heart.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's something I've noticed in it, and a lot of it has to do with when I love art and I like to stay in touch with it, but also because of my son now as an artist and art teacher and really engaging. I've noticed so much how he and his friends and so many of this new generation are gravitating back towards the more vintage kind of
I love that.
storytelling. And I was going to ask you how do you feel about that? What have you
I
noticed about it? And
freaking love to hear that. I love that analog. I just keep seeing some accounts I follow on Instagram just the harkening back to tangible things. And I love that your son and his friends are into that. And my son has a vinyl collection, and my daughter definitely does.
mm-hmm.
You know, yeah, there's something just I just love that it's being valued. I love that it's being collected and called out, especially in this age, this narrative that these gross billionaires are trying to call out that AI is inevitable and yada yada yada, and it's like actually it's not, but you would like it to be. And I love this. It's a resistance.
Yeah.
It's our part of our humanity, these physical things. And um yeah, you can't replicate that. So I love it. I love it.
Yeah. No, okay. So something I love so much because I did go on and I did purchase a zine of yours, which I love. But Tiger Sheep Friends. Okay, where did you
Thank
guys
you
come up
for
with the name Tiger
oh
Sheep
yeah.
Friends, which I
Thank
love
you
so
for
much?
thank you for buying one of our zines. The story is not even cool. It's like so ridiculous. It's not anything. I'm not going to waste too much time on it because it's disappointing in a way. I'm setting this up like it was like we were out like grabbing dinner with some friends like when Colin and I first started dating, and we were hanging out outside of the restaurant, and somebody was talking about something about tigers and this and that, and I don't know, Colin and I just both thought they said tiger sheep, but they didn't, and I don't even remember what they were talking about. And we were like, "What?" And I don't know why. I think we were all just in kind of loopy, tired moods. It was probably like a Friday, like I am now. And we just started giggling hysterically, and it struck us funny. And then later, Colin was like, I had already had an Etsy shop, but we were going to
Mhm.
kind of team up and do it together. So we were kind of looking to change the name, and I actually didn't like it at first. I was like, it's dumb. What does it even mean? It's too random. Like, what? But the
Okay, wait a
more,
minute. Sorry. That considering all the things you and I went through with naming stuff, for you to say something
I,
like it's too random is so funny
well, I guess
to me.
I like random, but it felt like it was kind of being forced a little
Yeah,
bit.
like random for random's sake. Yeah.
Yeah, just like, what does it mean? It came out of nowhere. And we should do it. And I just was like, I don't know, maybe I was just being stubborn, or maybe I just, who knows. But I just didn't, I was like, I don't get it. And then, of course, like my analytical, symbolic, loving brain was like, whoa, wait a minute. And then we started thinking about tigers and sheep, and they are so different. And I think the idea, after a while, I was like, well, let me put my philosophical spin on it. I think we're all tigers and we're all sheep at the same time. Like, you can't label someone. Like, but we do always want to like pigeonhole people,
Yeah,
including
yeah,
ourselves. And I kind of
yeah.
loved the idea that sometimes we can be fierce and like lone tiger. And then other times it's okay, like sheep is community, herd animal, and tigers could possibly eat sheep. But if you have like 20 sheep, I don't think a tiger would even try to fuck with that. So I think they both can be strong. Um, I don't know. It's kind of ridiculous still. And then the friends happened because Tiger Sheep wasn't available on Etsy.
Oh,
And
whoa. What?
we were like, well, it kind of reminded me of like a PBS kids show, like Tiger
Oh,
Sheep
yeah.
Friends.
Yeah, that's
And
perfect.
we were thinking about community and just like, oh, what if we end up selling other people's stuff someday, or like doing collaborations? So I don't know. There was sort of a weird kids show
Hmm.
sound to it that I like from the
It
70s.
it definitely has a
So
kids show. Very
yeah.
puff and stuff, tiger sheep friends.
Yeah.
Yeah, it
Yes.
definitely has that. Very
Yes.
psychedelic. I love it.
So
I mean,
we ended up keeping it. Although it's a mouthful, like it's a lot, like logo wise, it's
hmm.
like a lot of stuff. So but yeah, that's how that happened.
How was it like managing the Etsy shop at the same time that you're doing all this other stuff? I mean, I know you were saying balancing all that and
Yeah, it's a lot. I mean, it's a lot, but I don't do it alone.
hmm.
And we have a lot of fun ideas that we want to work on. And last fall, we decided to get a risograph printer, which kind of enables us to print large quantities of something at
Mm.
a really cost effective. There's some business speak in there for you. We can optimize and synergize.
We
No,
have the
but
bandwidth now.
yeah, but we got to sunset our other procedures because it's no longer doable. Um, but like, yeah, but to be honest, we do. I mean, I do embrace a lot of good business practices, and I think just the idea of like not having to charge a fortune for art prints can make things more affordable for our customers. And then, having this risograph printer, which I just have always loved. I've collected Riso prints, and the quality of the inks. And then for anybody listening who doesn't know what a risograph printer is, it's kind of like if you took the process of screen printing and a Xerox machine and like they had a baby.
Oh wow.
Um, and so there's these huge drums, and each drum has one color, and it can only print one color at a time.
Mm.
There are some machines that can print two colors, but we have one. Her name is Ruby,
Oh.
Aunt Ruby, and I love her so much. Um, I kind of pretend she's like a horse and I pat her, I like whisper things to her when she's like working really hard, and whoa, girl, because they can be finicky and, so, but yeah, it's been so fun learning that. And also, again, I was scared. I was intimidated. I didn't think that we could run something like that. And it turns out like I've had experience with large format printers, and multiple ink cartridges and not quite the same, but like at one point I was like, you know what? We are just going to go ahead and do this.
Yeah.
And I was really inspired by a friend who I had watched kind of go through the process. And when you have the courage to do something, you just never know. It might inspire someone else and give them permission to try it. And that's kind of what happened. Um, so, um, so yeah, we're able to scale up some of the stuff. And we've been working toward that. And yeah, we have some exciting things. We're on Faire now, which that was a big
Cool.
step for us. So we're doing wholesale. And yeah, and then I have like a Patreon mail club and a drawing club um, through Patreon, Slow-Mo Art Club. And then the mail club, I do a new Risograph print and sticker every month. So you can kind of sign up and get like mail goodies. And it's been really fun. And it's great because as a lot of people know that have printers, like just regular printers, they get really moody if you don't use them.
Yeah.
And same with a risograph printer, if you do not, use those drums after about 3 weeks to a month, it's just can really cause a lot of problems with the mesh around the drum. And so it's sort of in a way is this built-in system where I know because I have to do at least one new print um, a month, and then fun little insert papers that I wrap
Mm.
around the print for protection. But you can also use those for like junk journaling or scrapbooking. But I know I'm going to use the printer,
Yeah.
so it kind of helps keep. It's a lot to pull off every month, but there is this sort of release when I this last round I had a lot of new subscribers, and it is very humbling. And I had like a big pile of mail, and it's exciting. So,
Oh my God, that's so
yeah,
cool. Okay, why
yeah.
Ruby?
Well, my friend Courtney, who inspired us to get our own printer, her printer is Rita. And we found out that my printer and her printer, they're kind of litter mates. And
Oh.
they came from the same school in Brooklyn.
Oh my
She
God.
got her printer and I got my printer from this place called Halligan's in Chicago. It's like a women-run like risograph store that sells ink drums and printers, and they're really great. Um, and so I was like, well, I want it to have like a similar feeling, the name. But then we were having dinner with some friends, and it was like a Friendsgiving, I think. And our friend JJ was talking about his Aunt Ruby. And Colin and I looked over at each other. I was like, because again, you can't force names. And we had a name figured out, and it just wasn't right. And
Hmm.
I was like using it, and I was like, oh, this isn't right. And I look over, and we were both like, oh my God, Ruby, that's it. And I was like, but we should just keep it like Aunt Ruby,
Yeah.
like not try to change it. And then I was like, well, is that weird? Was his aunt be okay with that? And so we got his blessing. And we got Aunt Ruby's blessing. She loved it. We got pictures of his Aunt Ruby. So it was kind of this really sweet thing. And also because our printer, as small business owners, and like our sort of financial situation has changed and jobs have changed. So
Hmm.
now we're both like truly independent artists and small business owners, and we're just going to throw everything we have into like making a go of this. We're not attached to any like regular income
Mm.
anymore. And so this printer sort of means a lot to us. So it felt like this kind of spiritual blessing of sorts to have like this little good juju attached
Yeah.
to it. So yeah, Aunt Ruby.
Ah, Ruby. That's a great name. Okay.
Okay, well, number one, I think if you're scared, do it anyway. Number two, don't assume everybody else knows more than you. because you are smarter than you think. 3, my brain just scattered like cockroaches. Um, okay, make the work you want to be doing. If you are not getting paid to do what you're loving, you have to make what you want to be doing and put out in the world, because I think that is sort of the way you can attract paid work like that.
Mm,
I mean, just make the thing that you want and don't wait for anyone's permission. I think we're in that era now. Like, just literally do it. Figure out a way. There's ways to do it, and baby steps. That's the other thing.
yeah.
Do little baby guys. If something is intimidating or just seems too big, figure out a way to break it into smaller chunks and don't look at the other chunks. Put them out of your mind and just focus on what's in front of you. Great book, Bird by Bird by Anne Lamott. It's a writing book, but I think it's a life book.
Mm.
She talks about that. Is that it, or do I have
Oh, you
more?
have one more, if you want.
Um, I guess just don't take your own perspective or point of view for granted.
Mm.
Um, you would be surprised. There is so much value in your own point of view. And I think it's easy to sort of dismiss it and downplay it and not value it. And it's the opposite of what we should be doing, because you are you and it's valuable. And you have your own experiences and the things you care about and who you are as a person, what you think is funny, what you think is beautiful, all of that is something that the world should know about, and it might not be quite like someone else's. So don't take it for granted. How about that?
That was awesome. Just so you know,
Okay.
it was really good. So there we are. Ha ha. Knew it. Okay,
I
ready?
did it.
You did it. I'm so proud of you. Okay, rapid five. Ready?
Okay,
This
and
is
the
going to be
rapid
easy.
five.
This is
Okay.
going to be easy. What did you want to be when you grew up? I feel like we know, but what did you want to be when you grew up?
An artist.
There we go. And look, you are. Okay. What always makes you smile?
Baby animals,
Oh my
hands down.
God. So cute. God. Okay.
My
What?
dog. Yeah,
Your
my dog.
dog.
Yeah, yeah.
What's your dog's name?
Lucy.
Hi, Lucy. What kind of dog?
She got taken away after she started hacking up.
Hacking up. Colin's like, and there we go. Um,
Yeah.
what kind of dog is she?
She is a pug and a Shih Tzu mix.
A
So
pugoo.
they call her a pug zoos.
Pug zoo.
I don't know.
Okay. What do you know as an adult that you wish you knew as a kid?
To not want to grow up. Like, don't grow up.
Yeah, don't do it.
Don't do it. Um, yeah, we're just, I think the people, in my opinion, that have it figured out have figured out a way to preserve that part of them. And they
Yeah.
seem like really like well-adjusted, content people for the most part.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. What's your guilty pleasure?
Mm, um, I don't know if it's guilty, but I just I don't know what it is about like a freshly toasted bagel with cream cheese and coffee,
Mm.
but I just like want it right now. But I don't feel like I don't feel guilty about it. I don't
Hmm.
know what guilty pleasure. I don't know.
Well, it's kind of that maybe it's not your guilty pleasure, but like you were saying, just that thing that makes you go, ah, that's my little bliss spot. That little thing that
I
makes me say,
Yeah, I'd say like coffee and a sweet treat.
okay, all right.
Yeah.
Would it be like pastry sweet or candy sweet?
Oh, okay. Cinnamon rolls. There you go.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Like I have no willpower, like at all. Like it is there. It's really bad.
Okay, if you come when you come to LA, I have this amazing cinnamon roll recipe and you're going to come over, I'm going to make them for you. Okay.
Oh
So,
my God.
that's
I'm
that's
holding you
settled.
to that.
Yeah, you got it. Okay, cat or dog? I think I know, but cat or dog?
I used to think cat, but I am dog. I am
Mm.
dog. I am dog.
I am dog. It's a new zine for you and a new graphic novel. I am dog. Courtesy of Linda Morris. There you
Oh my God.
go.
Let's make it happen.
Sarah, first of all, this has been spectacular. I adore you, and this has been wonderful spending time with
I
you.
adore you too.
Thank you for sharing so much, and I feel like what you've shared has been incredibly inspirational because it's been wonderful about that, being true and giving into those moments that reflect the true you and trusting yourself. I think people need to hear more of that.
They do.
Yeah.
I mean,
And
I
it,
have to tell
yeah.
myself that every day, but I mean, it's like we got to keep it going.
Yeah. And in the best possible way, as opposed to the narcissistic aspect that we've seen so much, but that truth that, give into that true you and follow through with your heart. So thank you.
Yeah, well, thank you. I'm glad. I'm so happy to see you, and I'm so glad that we've been able to reconnect.
Yeah.
And I just think you're brilliant and such a bright light. So I appreciate you having me, and congratulations on all your success and this podcast and all that jazz.
Thank you, my honey. And to all of you
Mhm.
people out there, thank you for joining us again. Check out the links in the description below with anything regarding anything Sarah's up to. Please check out Tigersheep Friends. Please check out Slow Mo. Look into all of this. Really, she is a truly gifted artist, and it's really exciting. Her style is phenomenal. So, thank you again. We'll see you next time, and we're gonna have Sarah back no matter what, and I'm gonna make her cinnamon rolls.
Oh
And
my God.
and you guys take care until next time. Bye.
Bye bye.